convince the Congress about it. He's going to have a tough time. Dick Armey, who is the, that is the man's name. You make your own gays in the military joke, but he is the majority leader, and he said convincing the Congress of this is going to be like pulling teeth through the back of your head. And then he went on to admit that he is actually a Pez dispenser. Now, it's a very controversial issue. Some people feel we have no right to send troops over there and interfere in the Bosnian affairs. In fact, our own Mark Furman said that this is just the sort of thing that gives ethnic cleansing a bad name, which... Well, there was some good news for the military today. I don't know if you heard about it, but a 20-year-old Marine had fallen off an aircraft carrier in the, I think it was the South China Sea, and he was, after 36 hours in the water, he was rescued by a Pakistani fishing boat. And Sam Nunn, who is head of our Armed Services Committee, said, see, if you allow more gays in the military, it will lead to more men being blown overboard, which I think is a fair... Oh, speaking of Anna Nicole Smith, now she is in the news. She was admitted, sadly, this is not that funny, to the Betty Ford. I'm serious, she's in the Betty Ford Center. She was admitted for alcohol abuse and wind shear. Poor Anna Nicole Smith. No, she got in, there was some confusion. She came up to the Betty Ford Center and they asked the name of her employer. And she said, guess. And they said, I don't know, Betty Crocker? I mean, we are taping here at CBS, these facilities, and they were in the news today. They have announced that they are going to stop pandering. They said, only put on quality programming, hang the ratings. And their first choice for the new season is called Dr. Quinn, Teen Crack Whore. So anyway, thank you for coming. It's all tonight is a talented musician whose CDs, A Family Christmas and A Romantic Christmas, have just been re-released. Mr. John Tesh. Hey, John. Thank you. And of course, you know him from Seinfeld. You can also see him in the film Dunstan Checks In, due out in January, and in Bye Bye Birdie on Sunday, December 3rd at 8 p.m. on ABC. Jason Alexander. Thank you, sir. Okay. All right.
That in and of itself will ruin my reputation.
What did he do?
Yes.
What did he do?
We had a small embrace. A small embrace.
A small embrace, just to confuse people. And we've decided, I have to say, that we think you're treating John Tesh better than you're treating us, but we'll discuss that later.
I've got a rock stuck in my back here. What do you got?
You know, we did the show back in New York. I used to talk. You know, it's a whole different... No, I am happy...
Welcome to Los Angeles, yes.
I am glad to be here in Los Angeles, and I wanted to say right up front, because of our first issue, I don't want anyone to think, our loyal fans out there, that we are in any way selling out or going Hollywood or any of that, but it just so happens that in the news this week was Hooters. And it's a terrible coincidence. But I can't help it.
Was that just this week? Only this week that Hooters have been in the news?
It was in the news. Do you know what the story was?
Oh, you mean the restaurant chain? Now I'm following along.
The restaurant chain. The government has ordered Hooters to...
It's like being at a football game and being able to sneak in with the dudes in their conversations. Yes, dear.
So they've ordered...
Did they march the Hooters into court?
No. Now, this is a serious issue.
Yeah,
now,
they have honor, yes.
The government has said there is an equal opportunity law in this country, which I don't understand.
Which is true. And finally, men have learned something about what the feminist movement's done for the last 25 years, which is learn about equity in hiring and how you can't discriminate. And maybe they can change the name to Hooters and Peckers and put some men in some Speedos. They're in malls, they want to have family entertainment, and I think it is because, frankly, men don't want to take their girlfriends or wives to a place where their women will find out that this is not 8 inches.
was
worry.
worried we'd offend her, too.
Yeah. I guess
Don't worry.
That, by the way, is 8 inches. I don't care what she says.
And by the way, in Judaism, it's 12.
Wow. You might have a redneck. But,
Sure served her.
but really, does everybody in this country have to do every job? I mean, why is that necessary? Do you think that men should have to be allowed to
There
be Hooters?
are two jobs that have to be gender-based. One is a wet nurse and the other is a sperm donor. I'd love to be a sperm donor, but I don't have the mechanics.
So you, as the head of Now, would say this is a crock?
I don't know if I'd use that verbiage. I think it's fine. Again, I think if we're talking, especially
No,
when
what
we're
do you
talking...
think it's fine? I'm asking you. The government is saying that Hooters has to hire men. Do you think it's a crock or not?
First of all, they released that on the day that on the few days that the government was shut down. So no one could get to the EEOC to confirm that that report was legitimate.
You're avoiding the
We don't
question
think
just
it
like
is.
a woman.
I think...
No, I'm kidding about that. I'm kidding.
Which is my prerogative because I'm a woman. No, I think it's fine. I think that they should have to hire men. They're discriminating against them. Their primary service is to serve food. If they want to say their entertainment, and it's which is, they've said that. I agree, it's ridiculous. I know, it is absolutely ridiculous.
I didn't know they should move my chair.
But let's admit that. I would love it if they would admit that, but they say they're food service, they're in malls. Now, if they can just admit it, I'd be fine with that, but as long as they're going to be a restaurant, then let's have some equity.
I know, but it is damn unappetizing to be served by a fat guy with big tits. I mean, all right, we have to take a break. We'll be back. Okay, as John just told me in the break, that was just enough of that last issue. So let's put you on the hot seat now. Not on the hot seat, but I just wanted to ask you about this because you make your living with your show is terrific and your material is very funny. I laugh at that stuff, redneck, if you know. But do you think that there is a side to that that isn't funny to everybody? I mean, not to be cruel, but I mean, you might be a redneck if you hate black people.
Well,
You know what I mean?
You know,
There is
somebody
that-
said in an interview with me not long ago, they said, the nice thing is you've kind of taken this from a term of insult and to kind of a badge of honor. And I was always very careful with it early on not to make it a racist thing. I always called it my definition of redneck was a glorious absence of sophistication. And and the only reason I came up with it was because as I would travel, people would hear the Southern accent and they would say, "You're from the South. That's where all the rednecks are." And going around this country, there were rednecks everywhere. And
Orange County.
you know, and
Orange County, California. Yes.
Can you be a black redneck, though?
sure, glorious absence of sophistication.
Do you think any...
No, I mean, everybody's guilty of it.
Women, men, whoever it is. If
Sure.
You know, sure. Why not?
I mean, if we want to make everybody equal, why not?
But it's like the Confederate flag. You know, it's like, it's not in itself insulting, but a lot of black people, when they hang the Confederate flag in the South or they wave it at a football game, to them it represents something that is insulting.
Sure.
It's also something to hold on to when you're drunk. Not that I've ever done that.
I was going to say...
I went to a Southern school, and you know, we waved the Confederate flag. We didn't know what we were doing because we were too smashed most of the time. But it does. But it does. It stands for. I mean, just like the whole Mark Furman thing. You know, there are certain things that you just don't do, whether you're a redneck or not. You should know better than to do those things because they're very offensive to people that are important.
What about when older people like Marge Schott, you know, when they use... No, do you think because they're of a different era, I mean, they grew up at a time when it wasn't out of...
Different era? Different world, a different dimension.
But, I mean, do we cut them? Do you think it's appropriate to cut them
No,
more
you
slack?
don't cut them slack. Are they dead? They're old. They're not dead. The essence of life is constant change. So if you say to somebody, you know, when you were a kid, that probably was a very endearing term. But there's been a little bit of commotion since then. And we would prefer if you could maybe refer to us in a different way. I think out of decent common respect for your fellow men and women, you say, okay, I won't do that anymore. Why are we cutting slack?
It comes to the generational education is that I don't think people were using words like the N-word before because it was a term of endearment. They were using it, they knew what it meant, and it didn't matter, and they felt that there were no repercussions. Maybe there wasn't 30, 40, 50 years ago. Now there are, and there are because we know that it's not good. And forget about this owning words that are derogatory because somehow you get empowered by owning it. I've never understood that at all. It's almost like the Stockholm Syndrome where if something seems too difficult to conquer, you join it, or at least you think that you've decided you're in control of it.
What is the Stockholm Syndrome?
People who are taken hostage, eventually they have found to start to relate to the hostage taker. That it's something that you feel that you cannot get out of, and it suddenly becomes a symbiotic relationship. And we see that in our society when it comes to derogatory words, like dyke, the N-word, bitch, which women use to describe themselves. I think that it has to stop. I think we've got to have more respect for ourselves and respect for the person next to us.
That's true in so many ways. What I don't understand is, you know, we're particularly sensitive, and thank God we are, to the N-word. And yet you turn on Def Comedy Jam, and in this day and age, the essence of that comedy is the use of that word over and over and over by the same group. Now, I don't mean this to be funny. It's going to come out this way.
But it's young kids.
If I went up to a predominantly Jewish crowd, and I'm a Jewish guy, and I go, hey, Hebe, hey, you know, hey, you would think I was out of my mind. I mean, you know, Richard Pryor years ago in one of his concert films told a story about when he went to Africa and had a life-changing experience by going there. And I'm going to use the word only because he did. His wife said to him, Richard, do you see any niggers here? And he said, no, I don't. I don't see any niggers here. Right. And he never used the word again. And I think that that's a very, very strong statement. And I cannot seem to understand the mentality. I know it's for comedy. I know it's entertainment. I know it's part of the culture. And I don't have the sensibility of it. But I do watch Def Comedy Jam and comedians of that ilk, and I don't understand.
It's that owning the word. It's the you've owned the word to empower it in some way.
Take the power out of it, I guess.
You can't own that word, though. That's the problem.
But you're right, Jason, is that whether it be in rap music or anything else, is that the same dynamic is happening with the N-word as the B-word with women and everything else.
But every time you say N-word, somebody at home puts the rest of it down. That's why it was so ridiculous all the newscasters were saying, well, you know, he used the N-word 16 times. Because every time you say that, whether it's a 13-year-old or us, you fill in the blank.
But it also shows at least a level of our understanding of how powerful that word is, and that word should not lose its power because it's a time where we need to know what that word meant and what it was used for. And if we say it at least in that context, we at least are educating people about how we really need to handle it.
And there is a difference when black people say it to themselves. What I find funny about that show is that it's N-word, N-word, mother, 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 produced by Brolstein Gray and 8 other Jews. It's very funny. All right, we have to take a break. We'll be back.
Well, write to us at 514 West 57th Street, New York, New York, 10019. Or send us email at pi@cis.compuserve.com.
Okay, an issue that really has taken hold in this country, I think, and is going to get bigger, is this wealth gap that we have, especially when they're cutting budgets. And I was in the mall like every other idiot in America the day after Thanksgiving, and I hadn't been in the mall in a couple of months, and I was looking around, and I realized if you look in the mall, it's like every other store is something that nobody needs. You know, there's like, take another look at bread. You know, there are some countries where they'd like to take a look at bread. Just one look would be... There's stores of just, like, scented soaps. There's stores of just...
Things remembered. I like that store.
Everything's purple. There's a store, and I can just see how some guy's saying, they're cutting my Medicaid, but who's buying everything purple? You know, I can't get Medicaid, but everything purple.
Mm. But I don't think, you're saying wealth. I don't think that has to do with wealth. I've worked a ton in Nashville. I don't know if you've ever been there, but you go down Music Row to the Hank Williams Jr. store and everything. And there are people that have literally saved all their lives to go spend 2 days in Nashville, and they go in there and they buy a turd bird. I mean, it's a piece of cow manure with a pipe cleaner in it and a beak on it. And they think this is a good purchase, something that would look nice on the coffee table back home.
Is it Hank's turd?
Well, no, it's...
Why would it be in
I started to say no, but I can't answer that
relate to.
100% sure.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said I started to say no, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So
I don't think that's right.
But
it's not with wealth,
But the rich
it's
are
society.
exactly, because the rich are not walking into Spencer's Gifts and walking out with a lava lamp. You know, it's the people barely above the poverty level that think, hey, there's a purchase.
Well,
you know,
all of us.
What do you mean? That's ridiculous.
Bill, all of us.
and those stores disappear. I mean, they're there for a day and a half.
I was in San Diego this past weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm walking through that Embarcadero Square thing where there's all those stores like that, and there was a store that said the Magnet Store, and I'm laughing like we're laughing here. I'm saying, who would walk in that store? Then I saw something I really liked. I mean, I was past the store and I saw a magnetic ice cream cone. It was this big and it sticks right on your refrigerator, and I had to make magnetic violins, magnetic pianos.
So there's your
And the
answer.
place was jammed. I waited for a half-hour in line to get the magnetic ice cream cone. I have no idea why I bought the ice cream cone.
But listen, regardless of who walks into the store, if it's John Tesh or if it's someone living below the poverty line, if whatever amount of money you're making, we're all paying taxes. What is it up until now? May of the existing year. It goes to taxes alone, and the rest of it's our money. I think the taxes we pay is going to charity, that we're paying our money in to make things run, and people ultimately really are very generous. I run a nonprofit, and it's the little old lady with the real squiggly handwriting who's donating $5, who I know maybe is living on $200 a month. And it's the rich people who should draw more, who are drawing a check for $100. People do still give, and I think that that's why the system works. And whether you're buying your ice cream cone or not,
my
it's
point
working.
is that from looking at these stores, it looks to me like there's a lot more loose money in this country.
Oh, it's
if
capitalism.
people can afford to go
it's the
into
brilliance of
Bed, Bath
capitalism.
and Beyond,
Yes.
or buy...
Why not?
But
it's capitalism. It's the free marketplace.
it's always
You would
going on.
proffer what, then, as the solution?
I think there should-
Abolish the stores and give us your change,
Yeah.
basically.
I'm saying if you can afford the Everything Purple store, some guy should get his Medicare. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying if people... If there's that much loose money that we have, there's all these stores that, I mean, Helmut Schlemmer has a catalog for people who have already been to the Purple store and need ideas about how to waste their money.
Bill,
They don't even know how to do it, but they need a golf ball embosser that's also a marital aid. There's something wrong in America. I have to take a break. I'm so sorry, but we're live. I gotta go. Okay, we only have a little bit of time. Let me ask this holiday question, since it is the season. When you're, especially for the young people, if you're with a girlfriend, you're going home to her parents' house, is it appropriate to sleep together in the same room? And if it is, isn't it a turn-on when you have to do it quiet? Did you ever have that situation where you were home?
No, I've been married since I was 11, so I say it's a holiday. What's a holiday for? So that's my vote.
Jingle bells,
Yeah, jingle
yes.
bells.
John?
John Tesh, yes.
Come on.
I say don't do it because the risks are too high. You could, your whole life, you could be embarrassed by that. I mean, and I have been. So.
Foxworthy, we have 2 seconds.
Are they related or not related?
All right, I want to thank my guests, Tammy Bruce, Jason Alexander, John Seth, and Jeff Foxworthy, Steve Marwell, Ed McMahon, Randy Newman, Doris Allen, and Jay Leno. Thank you.